Good morning. I think we're gonna kick off. I want to thank everybody for joining. I'm Felix, the CEO and president of the Emerging Travel Group. I'll be your host today. I hope everyone can hear me well. Please react in chat whether the sound quality is all right. Can you guys hear me? Say yay, nay. All right, good. We have for those who don't know Emerging Travel, we're an online travel group that operates 4 brands in 170 source markets, 2 in B2B, 2 in B2C. RateHawk, Zen Hotels, Ostrovok, and B2B.ostrovok.ru are the 4 brands. RateHawk is our main agency brand. It's one of the largest booking engines for travel agencies that provides access to B2B rates for over 1.4 million hotels worldwide. So we're happy to be hosting some existing partners and hopefully talking to some new ones. I'm very happy to be running our first event of such kind. We are celebrating 5th anniversary of RateHawk, and we couldn't think of anything better than to invite all of you and invite some wonderful leaders from different subsegments of the travel industry to talk to us today about how they have been handling the most unprecedented desire for the sector in the human history, and to talk about how they've been handling, how they're thinking about the present and the future. So I'm going to introduce them now, and then we will ask them to quickly talk about the companies that they represent, and then we will jump to questions, and then we will conclude with some, hopefully, some questions from our listeners. The chat box is here for you to ask questions. We will ask, my team will help direct them. We will ask questions at the very end, just so we stick to the timeline. So first, Anna Iguel, who's the Director of Growth at Travelgate X. Hello, Anna, good to see you. If you could briefly introduce yourself and the company, that'd be great.
Hi, I'm Director of Growth at Travelgate. Travelgate is a technical hub, a technical platform providing connections on the travel industry.
Thank you. Then we have Sebastian Klinau, who is the CEO of Talixo.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for having me here. So I'm the CEO of Talixo. We are a global private transfer provider, so servicing 130 countries and basically servicing the travel industry. So happy to be here and also to present a good opportunity during the pandemic.
Awesome. Then we have Martina Gronegrace from Lufthansa City Center. Martina, hi.
Hello, Felix. Hello, everybody. Very happy to be here. Hi, Felix. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. So, yeah, I'm with Lufthansa City Center, the managing director. Lufthansa City Center is a travel agency franchise network with 500 members in 87 countries worldwide, and we cooperate already with a lot of people around this panel today, and I'm very happy to see you all here.
Perfect.
And congratulations, Felix, to your 5th anniversary.
Thank you. And then we have Anton Coronelli from Accor Hotels. Anton?
Yes, hello Felix, and thanks for having me. Accor is probably a company that most of you are familiar with. It is one of the largest hotel operators worldwide, with around 5,000 hotels all around the world and over 30 brands, including our historic brands such as Novotel, Ibis, and then recently acquired brands such as Fairmont, Raffles, Swissôtel, Movenpick, or Rixos, and also some newer lifestyle brands such as Tribe or the House of Originals.
Great. And then we have, thank you. And then we have Toms Andersons from Air Baltic.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for inviting. I'm Vice President Sales in Air Baltic for a number of years, and I'm greeting you from Riga, Latvia. Air Baltic is Latvia's national airline, but we are represented in all 3 Baltic countries, providing direct connectivity and also all kinds of transfer products, mainly between West and East.
Great. And then we have Jay Abbott from Nuvei. Jay, you're silent. No, still silent. How about now? Jay, you're not there. All right, Jay. While you figure out your sound, we'll let Tarek introduce himself. Tarek from Sierra Group. All right, looks like we have two technology difficulties. All right. Alex, you want to go?
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Alex Gisbert. I'm the CEO of Fastpay Hotels, based here in Mallorca on a very cloudy, cold day in Mallorca. We're a B2B intermediary distributing over 37,000 hotels to 15,000 travel agents around the world. And congratulations on 5 years, Felix, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. Tarek, any chance your sound got fixed? Or Jay? Doesn't look like it. You know, remote is a beautiful thing. I wish we would do this offline next time in some beautiful place. All right, let's move on to questions, and I guess let's start with sorry. Yeah, we'll have 3 parts. First, we'll talk about kind of the industry trends during the pandemic. What have you guys observed? And then we'll talk about. In our second part, we'll talk about the specific investments into product or changes that you had to do for the new norm. And then we'll talk about the future, how you guys see the future. And this is both medium term and long term. I'd like to kick off with airlines. And we all know the catastrophic consequences from the pandemic to the airline industry. And why don't we start with Toms? Toms, could you please share with us what happened with the airline industry from where you guys sit, and how did Air Baltic as a company how's it going, and how are you guys reacting to the changing consumer behavior? Is it actually changing for you?
Well, it is big time. But let's start quickly with how it started. In general, about Air Baltic. We are 25 years in business. There was 25 years celebration last year. And since 2016, it's been quite a growth. Yeah? We were growing double-digit numbers in passengers, and we were doing it actually profitably, which is also important. And in 2019, it was 5 million passengers. And I think the budget was calling something was 5.2 for this year, original budget. But then this thing hit us, of course. And there was basically 62 days of no flying from mid-March last year. And the decision was made to ground an airline for 62 days. I think we were the first airline who did it. So, and it just didn't make sense anymore. First of all, no-show factor went to 30%, and also governments came in and simply forbid us to fly. So what we did at that moment was quick program how to stay in review and growth, and basically massive cost cuts straight from beginning. So staff reduction, about 700 people from about 2,000 people, and also other plans were changed, like fleet plan. We cut it down from 40 to 25. The decision was made to just go for one fleet type. And this was something in the making, in the plans for next 2-3 years anyway. So it was just advanced. And also a new business plan. We had a quite ambitious business plan, Destination 2025. Now it was updated. It's called Destination 2025 Clean. And it was needed because also we needed funding. So we got the funding in investment by owner, which is majority Latvian state, which was approved by European Union, and which is absolutely necessary to survive it and prepare for profitable growth. So once this stay was kind of stabilized, then of course review and new products. So flexibility, everything is about flexibility. So product line was reviewed with view of flexibility. There are no non-refundable tickets anymore. They all have some kind of flexibility built, and that what was needed. So from other things, call center, of course, was overwhelmed immediately, and all this refund story, which I have to say, I think we managed very well, because we never stopped refunding. We offered vouchers for customers as well, but those were additional to refunds. Yeah? So this work was, of course, enormous, especially the people were reduced as well. Actually, the call center wasn't reduced. Call center got another 30 people hired during that period just to manage this. So that was the situation. And of course, we are restarting. And the first restart happened last year in May. And we kind of have our commitment to Baltic states, to Riga, to Tallinn and Vilnius. So it looked very, very good last year. And unfortunately, the second wave came in, and now we are restarting again right now. So talking about customers and other things, this COVID safety was very important last year, and lots of initiatives were done with COVID safety. Actually, we got this Skytrax 5-star rating on this one. But I think the most important thing is that I think we carried something like 1.2 million now passengers, or even more, since restart last year in May, and we know that we have transported some sick passengers, but there has been no crew sickness or no pandemics because of flying. So which means this flying as such is actually very safe because of procedures and the environment and aircraft by itself. This area is as good as in operation rooms. Yeah. So that's good news. Talking about markets, so I had it on a slide there. What we see is the leisure market has potential for strong recovery, and it is recovering. With leisure market, is interesting that last year we lost all groups and tour operators, of course, since we were not flying. Nobody knew what was going to happen during the summer. But what we did see that once we launched a leisure route, like for example Riga Dubrovnik, without any base loads from tour operators from the groups, we were able in 3 weeks to fill those planes up and be the first foreign airline landing in Croatia at that time. Now we launched lots of destinations over the last weeks. We announced for this summer we hope to repeat the same thing. Yeah? And we will start heavily campaigning very soon, actually promoting this. When it comes to corporates, it's of course sad story. We see about 10-20% what it used to be, but I see that there are some very resilient segments there, and things like Eastern Europe provides quite a lot of workforce for building and construction and shipyards. So And so this kind of is unaffected, and those guys are growing, but of course others are down. And marine is the same thing. There is no impact on marine travel, almost none. So yeah, that's what our those segments are. And change of habits, you asked about, well, late bookings, of course. Yeah, that's the biggest challenge here, because revenue management systems are built on 100 years of historical data. And now suddenly it's not anymore there. And then it was, in the beginning, it was a bit kind of, what do we measure against us? And, for a number of people, it's very important to have something to measure against. And but we are getting there. So there is a ways to find how we can judge on a business. But of course, at the moment, nobody is booking too far away. Same time, well, I have to say that this apparently tour operators and travel agencies need to think about future, and we are getting nice bookings for winter skiing now, still for this summer something, and Germans are booking next year as they usually do. So it's not all dead, and I hope it comes back. And since there was no product out there, agencies closed, many closed, no packages. We also saw quite a drive to online. Yeah, so those individuals, they still want to go, and if there is no agency, then they find ways of getting the content what they want online. And challenges very quickly, well, forecasts is a bit impossible. All these speculations out there are well, they can go all ways, and we got kind of like, I think, 5 scenarios in our company, which we consider from very bad to very, very good, and we compare us to that. Yeah, the biggest showstopper right now, of course, is government restrictions. Yeah, so Latvia was one of the most strictest ones, so we suffered quite a lot from this one here, but this still remains. Those tests, transit tests, and this is an issue for us big time, and also for customers, and also for handling agents, because those rules are so diverse and different. So this is the big issue, and of course vaccination speed comes into place as well. So we need this green passport as soon as possible. So because people want to travel, airline travel is safe travel. So as long as destination manages its COVID protocols, I think is going to be fine.
Great.
So I think I stop here. Yeah. So my 5 minutes.
Thank you. I think we will move on to Anton as someone who can speak on behalf of the entire hotel industry from the hotelier's perspective and from a hotel chain perspective. So what obviously the hotels suffered massive financial losses as well. Could you please share what you guys are seeing on behalf of the hotel industry? Where are you on the recovery phase? What have you observed in the last couple months?
Okay, so first of all, as I was asked to talk about the history a little bit, about the past and how we were recovering, how we saw the pandemic coming, I thought I'd start with safety. Like Tom just said, safety was a big thing. It was clear from the beginning. It still is a big thing. So Accor has started working on this very early on. I'm not seeing this slide. I'm not sure if everybody else can see this. Okay, there it is. So we have worked on implementing our own standard. We have decided to call All Safe. All is an acronym, but actually stands for Accor Live Limitless, which is the name for our lifestyle and loyalty program. So you're going to see us using the All acronym quite a lot. All Safe is one example of a program that was developed together with a company called Bureau Veritas, French company, which is very known for its role in accreditations of all kinds. So Bureau Veritas has acted as an independent expert, helping Accor to develop our own safety standards that went on top of all the national safety standards that were already followed by the hotels according to the region. So that was a very significant effort. Required very strong investment by the company and also by the hotels themselves, because basically every step, every process that happens on hotel level operationally had to be reviewed and very often amended or corrected to ensure the maximum safety for our guests, clients, and employees alike. We've also started a partnership with AXA Assistance, a company which is probably known to, if we have any French participants here, as an international insurance company. And thanks to AXA, in many countries we have implemented access to medical consultations for our guests that were made available by phone, so teleconsultations for the guests staying at Accor properties. And on top of the all safe label that was implemented by Accor globally, we have also implemented a number of local initiatives according to the markets. For example, in Moscow, our hotels have been enrolled in Safe Travel program that was run by the Moscow government. I should have said in the beginning that I will be using some of the examples, the initiatives that were implemented by Accor globally, but also I'm going to be using some of the examples from the region that I represent and where I'm based, which is Russian CIS. I'm based in Moscow. I will go through the slides pretty quickly. I will try to do that, but my colleague Julia is going to be helping me on the chat. So if you're interested in getting more details, you will be seeing some links on the chat for more information. The second thing I want to talk about is the actual trends that we saw on the market. So definitely a drop of occupancy. Russia is an interesting example because that's one of the countries where most of the hotels were open all throughout the pandemic, and so we've been able to observe real shifts in the trends in different client groups. So for example, for a certain period of time, one of our major client groups were doctors staying in Moscow. So the Moscow government had brought more doctors in Moscow in support of the newly created COVID hospitals, and we were hosting a lot of them in our properties. Other than that, we saw shift workers and observation groups. So there were Russia is a country with heavy industry well developed. So many of the heavy industry enterprises, they cannot stop their production. So they had to have shift workers come and work and stay for observations in hotels that have supported our chain for certain locations. Sport groups, teams were another group of clients that we've been receiving hosting during the COVID. And then sometime in midsummer, we saw an interesting trend starting in Sochi, which is a top leisure destination for many Russians. So Sochi has suddenly become a place of never-ending high season, which is still going on. So winter and summer, like Sochi is one of the most wanted destinations, and hotels have beaten records there in terms of occupancy and revenue. In terms of our commercial reactions, could you just go back to the previous slide, please? Like Tom has just said, it was from the beginning, it was a lot based on flexibility. We've recognized early on that our clients need flexibility. So we've introduced flexible policies for both individuals and for group bookers. We've launched a number of special offers for, again, meeting planners and corporate buyers alike. And more recently, we're working on new solutions such as the hybrid meeting solutions. It seems like travel and meetings are coming back as soon as the restrictions are lifted, but still there are going to be restrictions. People are not going to be able to be on same locations, or they might be able to travel domestically but not across borders. So hybrid meetings is something we're looking at, and we actually started a partnership with Microsoft to be able to use the Microsoft Teams more efficiently. Finally, and that will be on the next slide, I wanted to say that Accor has been working a lot to support our own staff, because we often say that in hospitality is an industry where our employees are our main asset. And actually, we've launched our Heartists Fund. Heartist is a term that was coined by Accor at Accor, and that's how we refer to ourselves, to our own employees. It's a term that comes from a combination of two words, heart and artist, meaning that in hospitality, whatever you do, you need to act from your heart. So the Heartist Fund was developed specifically to support Accor employees that might be finding themselves in different difficult situations because of COVID, because of illness, because of family member illness, and so on. And that's been very efficient in supporting our own colleagues. Many of our colleagues have benefited from that as a gesture of solidarity from the company. So solidarity was overall very important for us, supporting communities, supporting doctors, supporting our colleagues. So that's all I think I wanted to cover as far as the past and our reaction to COVID is concerned.
Because I'm CEO of Talixo, so we are like a global transfer provider specializing on airport transfers, but also point-to-point transfers, so all pre-booked and servicing the travel industry. And we have seen actually after obviously initial dip of once the pandemic struck, we have seen like a amazing pickup, especially of our business, because you need to be aware that transfers were maybe not on the top of the agenda of many travel buyers and sometimes maybe also travelers. So maybe if we go to the next slide, I just wanted to. Yes, thanks. So I always compare our business as the sleeping beauty in travel, because and those are just to show you like how transfers compares to all the other travel segments that you normally sell to your end customers, right? So flights with 720 billion euros, hotels with 480, rent a car with 72. Transfers is actually like, if you take all pre-booked airport transfers, is actually like a larger segment than rental cars. So if you take shared and private transfers. So sorry, those are all numbers pre-COVID. So I think let's, but we are all sure that those numbers we will hit very, very soon. So, but just want to make you aware. So it's a sleeping beauty because compared to the size of the segment and the need for customers, I guess I'm not saying anything secret here, and that probably on average, like the fraction of transfers that is making up in your selling revenue, is probably 1 to 2%, as we see in the industry. But actually, like it should be around 10 to 20%. So why is that so? The reason is first was initially, let's think 10 or 20 years back, is basically it's normally small ticket sizes. So a flight is 200, 300 euros, like a transfer on average is 40. So the second one is it's a very fragmented market from the supply side. 20 years back, let's say all local suppliers, so you would need to make deals with every local supplier individually to offer a destination. Thirdly, there were no really standards, right? So flights, hotels, rent a car, it's pretty much standardized business. So this has changed now. So since 10 years, we have big transfer players, obviously holiday taxis, hotel beds. So guys also big limousine companies, also Talixo. I founded Talixo 9 years back. So this has been there, but still it's 1 to 2% of your overall selling volume, let's say. So now, actually during the pandemic, sorry, one more thing. So why is that so? It's pretty much the awareness of that there is a possibility to pre-book like a safe, cheap, good airport transportation and offer this to your customers is not quite there. Yeah. So maybe if we can go to the next slide. So what happened now? Oh, sorry. Can you put on the next slide, please? Yeah, technology sometimes. So next slide, please. Yes. So what happened now during pandemic? Yeah. So the pandemic changed the awareness of transfers with travelers. So it increased the awareness and increased the need for a COVID safe pre-booked private transfer. So I would also want to tell everyone here in the call that this could be also an interesting opportunity for every one of us, could be also for airlines, could be also for hotels, could be for all the travel buyers. Because what happened now is before people were thinking of, let's care about going to the airport or from the airport at the point in travel. So at the very end, so point number 5. So when you travel, you could get a taxi, you get public transportation, right? So since now everybody is concerned about, okay, how do I ensure when I travel, how do I ensure my safety? So now suddenly people start thinking about taking care of mobility and transfers during like the step of when they book their travel and when they prepare for the travel. So what we have seen is we have, since the pandemic, we have more pre-booking of transfers and we have more private transfers. So we like just a big factor here is the attach rate. The attach rates means for every itinerary, for every travel that you book, how many times what's the fraction of transfers being attached to the whole package, right? So, and we have seen on our end that this has more than tripled. Some customers that had pre-COVID volumes of a certain amount, so have quadrupled sometimes the transfer volumes with us. So this shows you actually the potential of this. So if we go to the next slide, and this is my last slide here, right? So I want to just tell you that even during the pandemic, things have gone down, right? So and we are like only on a fraction of what we were selling before. So transfers can be a possibility to, for the low levels that you currently have, to obviously cross-sell something that really sells well with partners, with end customers. So on the left side, let me talk first about the classic destination airport transfer. So this means basically you sell a transfer for if somebody goes to the Caribbean, so he's picked up at the destination, goes to the hotel. So depending on how you sell travel, so the attach rates are different. So if you sell packages, we see currently 30 to 40%, sometimes up an attach rate. If you sell hotels, right? So we see an attach rate currently of 20 to 30%. So almost every third hotel booking will generate like a airport transfer. Last one is flight. It's a little bit less than hotel because normally people book first the flight, then the hotel, so they don't know where they need to go when they book the flight. So this is why the attach rates are a little bit lower. So this is the current, let's say, classic destination airport transfers. But now with the rise of very global, sophisticated providers, as I'm representing, for example, right? So you have also additional opportunities to even increase the revenue that you are selling with transfers. For example, think of outbound transfers, picking your customers up at the doorstep. Second piece is when you want to bring them from the hotel to their activities. We call it point-to-point transfers. Third is also if you, for example, have technical means like a mobile app and you want to offer also travel goods or like travel in this app, so you can also offer this via your own mobile app. So APIs are there, SDKs are there, so on and so on. So last comment I want to make here for this for assessing this travel opportunity via transfers is you theoretically can sell more than 4 private transfers easily with every trip, right? So which could lead to 10 to 30% of your additional revenue for your current numbers. That's basically my pitch here.
Awesome. I want to tell everyone that we'll do questions at the end, but you can write them in chat. So some of you are asking about. Why don't we go to talk a little bit about what we've seen as ETG. Our big 3 trends that I want to share with everyone is obviously first is domestic. So domestic has become absolutely massive. Wherever domestic, and we have kind of global coverage, so we see data on both B2B and B2C, and we see it in 50 plus B2C markets via performance marketing. So we can comfortably say that domestic share is by far at all-time high. So in almost all markets, it's wherever, for example, in a bunch of large countries where it was something like 20%, it's now 60 to 70%. So this trend is absolutely visible and it's here to stay. Another major trend is booking window. So during the pandemic, the booking window contracted massively, and kind of whatever we've seen there is absolutely astronomical. I think the entire revenue management science, whatever people have been using, can be thrown out of the window, and everything can be built from scratch. Obviously, hotels, airlines, all constituencies, even we as OTAs and B2B consolidators rely on past data to do any level of forecasting. All of that has been thrown out of the window, and we've seen that change whenever kind of a certain region opens up or a certain country relaxes certain limitations, but nothing comes back to the level of booking window that we've seen in 2019, and we think this trend is here to stay. So we think that will completely kind of change the customer behavior forever, actually. That's the most important one for us. Did we not get Martina back? No. We'll catch up with her. Hopefully she rejoins, and we'll go to part 2, and we'll talk about specific kind of product and various technology or business process investments and inventions that you've had to do. Now let's go to you while we try to recover some of our speakers.
Okay, happy to join now. About which products we have changed and how we adapted to the pandemic. I just want to brief you very in a summary how we reacted to the pandemic. So the first thing, as soon as lockdown started, all teams at Travelgate met and started to brainstorm how to help the business and our partners. We were conscious that obviously our data is so important to everyone, and that we have the trends, we could see the future, we could see in real time all the trends. So we decided with solidarity to share this data to everyone. We created the campaign, We Are Here For You. And with the panel, we were sharing real data to everyone. But not only the sector and the partners were very curious about what was going on. We had all media worldwide asking us continuously for figures and data. So we had many colleagues from Travelgate appearing in the media, in television, in radio, in tourism newspapers, explaining data and figures, and it has been very, very funny seeing all the colleagues in some, mostly in the Spanish television. And surprisingly, as an effect, our brand awareness was hit very positively. And we managed to position ourselves above competitors with this solidarity campaign. So it was very positive. But what we wanted is to really help our partners to reduce costs. And very, very quickly, using our technology, we started use machine learning and creating tools to reduce traffic. We manage in some connections between large players to reduce up to 80% the look to book, and therefore reducing the partner cost. This was so important for us because due to the pandemic, we were seeing look to books increasing massively. People still dream on traveling, and everyone was looking for destinations but not booking actually. So this was something we did. Also on the commercial side. On the commercials, we realized that some of our commercials were based on look to book and on some fixed payments. So what we did is to reduce all upfront payments and all the fixed costs, and going to a new model, more pay-per-use rates to really help everyone. Obviously, we also provided payment plans to all those partners who needed that. But the most interesting thing was that we came up with new payment methods, and this was so innovative. we wanted to help the business. We realized that with the lack of credit that we have at the moment, we needed new payment methods. We developed and fully integrated in Travelgate together with PayPark wallet-to-wallet solution. What basically it does is to secure that transactions are fully covered and paid. And we are working on new payment methods because we realize that moving forward, we need to walk away from the classic merchant model and the virtual credit cards. So this is the changes we have done about commercials and adapting the tools. We also provided dashboards in the new.
What do you guys think will be the default payment method 5 years out?
Will be like this wallet-to-wallet solutions or some kind of virtual credit cards. But the merchant model, I think we will walk away from the merchant model unless credit comes back, Felix.
I agree. I think it's time for a change on that.
Yeah. And this is mostly what we have done. I think that the greatest achievement from Travelgate was to react very, very fast. And following our leitmotif, we are here for you, supporting our partners. And thanks to the data and our technology, we were able to produce all this new. We are still working on that. We are now working on dashboards in the new website where you can control traffic and everything as if you were going direct. So we are still working on adapting to the pandemic. And this is it, basically.
Anna, thank you. Thank you for sharing in. Let's go to Tarek while Jay figures this out. I'm sorry, Jay.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I had some audio issues earlier, so sorry about that. Felix, thanks a lot for organizing this. And one very interesting thing about our business is that we are a travel conglomerate based out of Saudi Arabia and our offices in UAE. And the pandemic had like a big impact on our business because Saudi literally closed borders and nobody could travel. And literally all the outbound that would be happening had kind of come to a standstill. And we have got multiple brands, right? So we work with different customer bases. We've got a consumer travel brand called Al Musafir. We've got a corporate travel brand called Ila. We are into the Hajj and Umrah religious travel business, which is Mawasim. We have our own car rental business called Lumi. And we have our own hospitality division where we own hotels. And we also have our own DMC that we just launched in the year 2019, where we wanted to bring in customers from all over the world to explore Saudi Arabia. So 2020 was like a big shock for all of us, but nevertheless, we had to make sure that we made the best use of that opportunity. And if you look at it, when the pandemic hit all of us, and for any travel company like ours, the first and the most important thing was managing customers' expectations and their monies, because literally everybody wanted a refund and none of the suppliers were willing to give the refund at that point of time. So we were literally for the first 3 or 4 months just managing to make sure that we manage our customers' expectations and make sure we give them the money back. And a lot of time was spent in terms of trying to make sure that people are given their refunds and taking care of that. But we also saw a lot of opportunities, right? So, for example, our car rental business saw a big demand from a lot of e-commerce players where they wanted our vehicles for delivery. And so we deployed a large part of our vehicles to various e-commerce and other delivery companies so that we could utilize our fleet more effectively. And like you mentioned, Felix, right? Domestic became the most important aspect of our focus. And Al Musafir started building a lot of products on domestic. We started looking at what are the kind of activities that one can do in Saudi Arabia. And because of a very strong pent-up demand in terms of what people wanted to do, we created packages, we created activities that people could undertake in Saudi Arabia, because Saudi started allowing people to travel domestically, but not traveling abroad and not allowing people to come in. So it was mainly a completely a domestic thing. And that's when we saw a big rise in terms of demand for hotels and service apartments within the country, which also prompted us to increase our inventory across Saudi Arabia. So we deployed additional resources to make sure we have enough inventory available, ensure that we have enough content available to be able to serve our customers. And then we also had a lot of expats living in Saudi Arabia who had to be going back to their own country. So we kind of got into a lot of repatriation flights. We conducted multiple charters that allowed us to take a lot of people back to their home countries, whether it was to Cairo, to India, to Africa, multiple locations. We had multiple charters that allowed us to take those people back. And we also focused on, at the same time, on our technology. So we continued investing in building our technology piece. We kept on integrating various chains. We actually managed to launch 4 to 5 chains that went live with us on the platform. We were also working very closely with our various ministries, because our corporate and government brand ELA represents manages travel for a lot of government entities. And we managed to get a lot of, again, opportunity to work with them to manage their travel, for getting in technicians to set up various laboratories, etc., in Saudi Arabia. So that became like a good utilization of our resources and managing to get a lot of inventory consumed. And because we also own hotels, we also managed to get our hotels used by the government for quarantine purposes. And because the inbound businesses of the religious tourism, Mawasim and Discover Saudi literally wouldn't be able to do much. So we focused on, again, making sure we had the right technology platform ready. We integrated with the various technology platforms of the government to allow seamless e-visas for people wanting to go for Umrah. So we integrated with their Maqam system. We built a new B2B portal to allow travel agencies to book their Umrah bookings on our platform. And for inbound, we managed to get a few interesting events to manage. We managed the Dakar Rally in 2020, which was a pretty large event that took place. Although they didn't allow a lot of visitors, it was a huge movement of the participants and the organizers. So a lot of work went in on that. And so that's what we managed to do. So like trying to make the best use of the situation and trying to get maximum that we could in this pandemic situation that we had. And what we also do is, on a regular basis, we conduct surveys with the Saudi customers and try and get a little bit more understanding about what do they want to do, what are their plans. And as expected, our last survey, which we did in March this year, we saw that there is a very strong pent-up demand for travel. And they will continue to travel domestically for leisure, but they will also want to go out. And around 80% would want to travel abroad as soon as the borders are open. So we are hoping that with the announcement that 17th May is the date when the Saudi borders are expected to open, we expect this demand to start, culminating into a lot of bookings. And again, the destination preferences are again within the MENA region. So this is where they want to go. So you'll have a lot of demand for Dubai, for Egypt, for places around that. And they want to they also want to be informed about what's happening in various destinations, so that they're able to take the right decision in terms of where they want to go. So we are pretty confident about the bounce back in terms of the Saudi consumer market when they want to start traveling. And we're hoping once the borders open, we'll see a big difference on that.
Thank you. Martina, let's talk a little bit about what you guys have done on the trend side, and what you're seeing. What are the key trends, and what changes you're making as a pretty large chain of important agencies around the world.
Yeah, thank you, Felix. Yeah, yes, we are a big travel agency franchise network. 87 countries is where we are located. But one thing is unique over all countries and customer groups. Travelers have only traveled when they felt safe. So this means that apart from VFR, customers have only gone to countries which had the pandemic well under control. And this is also what we see on a worldwide scale. Travelers want to feel safe. This will only work out long term if a large number of the population has been vaccinated. Asia is taking the lead in the demand, with 9 out of 10 busiest air routes flown in the world in the last months in Asia. Korea, Vietnam, China, Japan, Australia, they all did very well to contain the virus, and that's why they were able to return to an almost normal life domestically. And those countries made it very clear to us that they only welcome visitors who are vaccinated. The safe countries only encourage tourism among each other, like UK with Israel now, Australia with Singapore. And Europe has just announced that it's now ready to consider to opening its borders for the US vaccinated tourists. So this rollout of the whole vaccination program actually and the safety status of each country will be crucial to the business and travel development to a very large extent to our members and to all of us. And secondly, the demand and travel pattern for our customers were strongly influenced by the worldwide travel restrictions. And with this uncertainty, it has led to a relatively higher demand for domestic and regional travel. People wanted to hop into a car and be sure to be able to come home anytime they wanted. From our side, we are of course well aware of this and supported our agencies with lots of new suppliers who cater to domestic and regional tourism. So we added some new suppliers, for example, for mobile homes and vacation rentals and things like this to do in your country when you also only go on short-term inner domestic vacations. At the same time, we have conducted countless information sessions and introduced tools for our members to find latest information on travel restrictions. In regards to business travel, only one segment stood out to a certain extent, and this is marine, oil and energy business. Other than that, travel business was rather leisure business in 2020. So what is needed now in order to make our customers move again? Apart from a safe travel environment and clear entry regulations, a much stronger collaboration among us in the travel agency chain is needed. We have to make travel, not in the travel agency chain, in the travel chain. We have to make travel a seamless experience for the passenger. And it's up to us sitting here around this panel. We have to be aware that the customer will only go on a journey if it will be carefree and easy. And it is up to us as travel consultants, airlines, hotel, ground transporters, and everybody else to make sure that the customers can lightheartedly move around. If we don't make this possible, his company will never allow him to go on a duty trip. This means that we all should be ready to give immediate support to travelers if needed, even on topics which are normally out of our range. Like, for example, facilitating access to local testing facilities, support to get certificates before home flights, or arrange even for a quarantine solution in case the travelers got infected. Airlines, cars, and hotels will also stay very flexible with their rebooking offers to accommodate the last-minute changes of the travelers. The more uncertain it is for the traveler, the less he will travel. Our network and all of our partners are all over the world locally and can help. And it is up to us to create this awareness to make travelers' life easier and our services seamless. And the last point, which I feel will strongly affect us, our customers, and the global business travel demand, This is the future of work. During the pandemic, many of us were forced to work from home. In this time, the digitization has leapfrogged again. Enormous amounts of money have flown into startups, which substituted offices, meetings, and travel. Our way of working was changed within months. Everybody was forced to adapt and to get familiar with new tools, like I did today. Sorry, today was a bit bumpy from my side. But the world has moved forward using those tools. And it is up to us now to see what is left in duty travel and how the world will further evolve. Definitely, time was never being turned back, and the world will always move forward. So I wonder, from my perspective, how many travelers will still take a one-day duty trip if they hardly commute to their offices anymore. But I'm very confident that new travel demands will show up. Coming together is very human. You want to see each other, you want to see your business partner also in real. But it will be rather coming together for a bigger event, for fun, or to create team spirit. And this is not only valid for your own employees, it's valid for your business partners and for everybody else you're doing business with. We will rather meet for bigger events, for joint inspiration and ideation. The future business travel patterns and demand will change strongly, and we do not know where it will lead us. But we at LCC will surely keep up with the trends and keep our eyes open to support our members and business partners best in this industry transformation process where we are all in. Thank you, Felix, and I hope you were able to hear me.
Martina, thank you so much for suffering through the technology problems that we've had today. And thank you for the wonderful speech. Look, I agree. I agree with you that bringing groups together, especially in a remote world, will be something that is a default state of running a good company. So I think we will see more of that after the pandemic. Alex, are you here? Alex?
Yes, and hopefully you can hear me okay. No echo, no breakup.
Yes.
Hi. No, I thought there was some fantastic interventions.
I want to bug you. I want to be direct about this, actually. So Alex and I, we work together a lot. We're a big buyer of Alex's products, so he'll tell you guys what he does. But historically, we've bought a lot of non-refundable bookings, and that was your specialty. You were one of the best in the world at that, actually, in the past. So I'm curious how, obviously, customers are less inclined to buy non-refundable, how that has affected and how you've been changing product stuff to better service customer demand.
Yeah, I think, so you're right. Our business is just over 5.5 years old. We sell accommodation to travel agents and tour operators all over the world. And certainly when we started our business, we were 100% laser focused on non-refundable. And if you look at 2018, about 60% of our business was non-refundable. Fortunately, obviously, the pandemic hit us when we were selling the full range of rate plans, and we moved our model slightly. What hasn't changed is that today, of the 37,000 directly contracted hotels that we have today, 100% of those are based on dynamic rates and integrations direct with hotels, and that has been key. I think if you talk about products in the pandemic, the trends you identified, I think make a lot of sense. Felix, we're hearing that as well from Lufthansa. Very last minute, and when I say last minute, last week even, in some of the top markets that we're selling, domestic is driving over 20% every day is same day bookings, i.e. bookings for tonight. But I think that for us, the product evolution that FastPay Hotels went through over the course of the last 12 months was very much driven by what was in our DNA, right? So firstly, Fastpay Hotels was fortunate enough to not have to furlough any of its team. We kept the whole team on. In fact, we increased the amount of developers that we had working on big data and hotel integrations. We used the time last year specifically to increase the amount of hotel contracting that we had. And what we found is that some of the global chains, for example, they had big queues of integration. And as other people in the queue ahead of us perhaps were falling away and didn't have the resources, we jumped a huge amount of positions. We were able to add an awful lot of inventory, particularly in the US, Mexico, and Europe. But what has been key for that is that addition of stock now puts us in a position where 96% of our sales over the course of the last 60 days are now from our directly contracted inventory. We have reduced massively the dependence on any kind of third-party inventory. And I think what's happening in the industry now, particularly with relationship with travel agents, is there are a series of people that have stock and there are people who just sell other people's. And the pandemic has exposed that model in a really big way, because what is key now is customer service. I think what we feel is the future. Our big investments has absolutely been about customer service and content over the last 12 months. This month we're reporting 84% of all of the tickets raised on our system in the service desk were all answered within 30 minutes, and that is possible because dynamic rates gives you immediate confirmation. Dynamic rates leads to much less manual errors. And fundamentally, what we're saying is a digital approach is giving us, and a direct contracting approach enables travel agents to get the good customer service. It's absolutely critical for travel agents that have very demanding, very worried customers in very unstable times, that they're talking to someone who's talking to the hotel. If you're in a position where you're talking to someone who's talking to someone who's talking to someone who's talking to the hotels, that is when you're getting big queues in call centers, information being lost, and there's no way that anyone can keep up to a customer service SLA. So I think that's actually been key for us. At the same time, we in a digital world where you're integrated directly with hotels, you get obvious things. So we have a digital approach to the hotel confirmation number, which is becoming very much demanded by travel agents, particularly in Asia and emerging markets. Our integrations with the likes of Hilton or IHG or Wyndham, you bring in the hotel confirmation number, which we're able to give at time of booking to all of our demand partners free of charge, right? And I think that's absolutely key. So, and then the other big trend, of course, was vacation rental. And we have invested an awful lot over the course of the last 12 months to be able to now offer vacation rental properties, particularly in the US, Mexico, and the Mediterranean to our customers. And that is, Felix is seeing some really interesting growth. There's been some questions about credit cards, which I thought I mentioned. We actually launched, we pay our hotels with credit cards. That's efficient, that's fast. You can't really do same day bookings unless you're efficient and digital in your approach. You can't do them well. We launched together with MasterCard a new program in October of last year, where our hotels, to process the Fastpay Hotels credit card, only pay 1% to MasterCard. Now, traditionally this is a cost that has cost hotels in the region of 2.5% or almost 3%. But this was the time to make credit card lower. More and more hotels came to us and saying, we want to work dynamically. We can't afford to maintain static rates. We want control of parity, but we can't afford the credit cards. And particularly in independent properties and smaller 3- and 4-star properties. And we've managed to ramp up on that, particularly on offering people the ability for hotels to only have the cost of processing our credit card at the cost of 1%. And then certainly working with supply partners, I think the hotels have done a really good job in difficult times to update their content. And we've we get emails and communications and PDFs and videos from all of our 37,000 hotel partners explaining to us what their COVID measures are. And I think we've done a fairly good job of consolidating that information, putting it on our platform, and making it available through our API to all of our travel agent and retail partners and through our travel agent websites, which means that the COVID measures, they're all very disparate, but we managed to homogenize them into one place and make them available to travel agents so that travel agents can convert better by explaining the COVID and safety and health measures. And some of them means fantastic. I think, Accor, we saw some examples, Clean Stay from Hilton, the Meliá measures, Bahia Principe offering free anti-tests, all of that content being captured and being passed through to travel agents. Look, this is a time where we were very fortunate that the pandemic hit us at a time where we had embraced digital connectivity, dynamic credit cards, integrations, same-day bookings. We'd adopted an awful lot of that into the way that we worked. But I think what the pandemic has done is accelerated the need now for data-driven businesses that offer efficient and scalable solutions to their demand partners. And I think every problem we now face, and I think even long gone after the pandemic, we're not going to go back to emailing reservations. We're not going to go back to lots of manual bank transfers. We're not going to go back to expensive credit cards. We're not going to go back for people waiting 2 or 3 days to get responses from their accommodation suppliers. And I do think we're going to, customers, look, let's face it, if we're all using this and my mother's now calling me on Zoom rather than on the phone, we're going to see more and more consumers booking using last minute, last second, lots of mobile bookings, working with travel agents on lots of last minute bookings. So I think that the solution to that is digital. The solution that has to be scalable, and that's where FastPay Hotels has made, I think, really developed an awful lot of product and said, look, reselling isn't going to work. We absolutely need to be direct to hotel and also direct to that. And then the other thing, which is really interesting, I think, Felix, is there's been a lot of desperation. There's been a lot of people very worried about volumes, which I think makes sense in this place. But in September we were certified by OTA Insight as being rate parity certified with hotels. There are certain things that you have to keep doing, pandemic or no pandemic, respecting hotel sell rates, making sure people are being paid on time, because those things matter and people have memories. And if you are working with some of the chains that we are working with around the world, some examples here on the slides, rate parity, the rate parity discipline, paying people on time, working on integrations, customer service SLA, those things will be before the pandemic and those things will be after the pandemic. But now that people are really looking at how they're going to invest their resources, who they're going to work with, we'd like to think that having acted professionally during all this difficult time, that puts us in a better place as we begin to see the beginning of recovery, right?
Alex, thank you. I'm very happy to be distributing all of your inventory to our travel agency and corporate partners around the world, and our B2C partners as well. Actually, we are seeing some great bookings all over the world, even in our original home market in Russia. So clearly, your model works, and I fully agree on the rate parity and all of the things that we have to do together, that we all started working on together before the pandemic. Did we by any chance get Jay back? No.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Jay, you're here.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm on the phone, so I'm going to go a little bit blind here, Felix. Again, everyone, really sorry for this. I've been trying. Let's say that. That's the best I can give you. I've really been trying hard to get on.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
No, yeah, sorry. These things seem to happen in the modern days. Just listening in, we've got some really great, great content and great feedback from all the different people that are here. For my part here, Felix, I mean, I introduced myself. My name is Jay Abbott. I'm the Vice President for Travel and Mobility at Nuvei, and we are a global payments provider. Do you have the slide up in front of you? The one that says one platform, one partner? Wonderful. Yes. So we'll just go, I'm going blind obviously at the moment, but feel free to ask questions or do things as we run through this. I will say, from Nuvei's perspective, we launched the largest tech IPO in Canadian history in 2020, September last year. So we provide, and there's a lot of talk about Visa, MasterCard, different payment methods I've seen going on here. So we're essentially providing the platform to pay the way that you would like to pay in all the different countries and currencies and things that you want. So we do 500 plus million transactions per year. We provide, if we talk about alternative forms of payment, 450 plus of those. Plus, in addition, we've just launched as the first, let's say, major global payments platform, 40 plus cryptocurrencies. So if we talk about product innovation, those sort of things, these are people are wanting to pay in new and different ways. And I like this discussion about going digital because this is the future. This is the way that things are happening. And this is certainly where we're going. So we offer easy connectivity, I would say, to support large global travel businesses and mobility businesses to go into and pay in all the different countries and the different areas that they want to go into. What I would say, Felix, if you just go on to the next slide here, and this is just some of the sort of general trends. You were involved, I think, in part in this global white paper that we did, and I've just taken a few quotes out of the white paper itself. But what we saw a lot is because of the pandemic or the impact of it, a lot of people were booking a lot closer to their time of travel just due to general volatility that was going on. So you saw, instead of having a gap between book and fly or book and stay of, I don't know, in some cases 45, 90 days, you were seeing it come close to in the area of a week in some cases. Literally, I booked a trip during the pandemic together with my wife and family one day before. And I think this is an interesting piece here because from a risk perspective, and I haven't heard this spoken about, but I've been having a little bit of connectivity. But from a financial risk perspective, when you talk about global payments and taking credit card payments and these sort of things, the gap between book and stay, or the gap between book and fly, actually is you've got unflown flights. You've got things that are happening in between this gap here financially. And I don't know if the audience knows this too much from a global, let's say, merchant or a travel company perspective, but if your company goes bankrupt and you're taking global online payments for credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, whatever it is, the actual company behind that that's doing the payments processing, so it could be Nuvei, it could be any company that's globally taking payments. If you guys go bankrupt, then the payments processor has to pay back your consumers. That's the agreement that we have with Visa, MasterCard. And what that's basically meant is that the distribution of risk now, because of the pandemic, has turned the travel business into an ultra high risk business. So you've seen a lot of, on the consumer side, you've seen a lot of consumers looking for insurance to cover themselves as well. But I would say also from the payments processor side, we want to have insurance against if our merchants, like online travel agencies, if they go bankrupt, or our airlines go bankrupt. And we saw a lot of this happening during the pandemic, and that has been a real major trend or a major shift because of this. But if you just take the first part here on bookings, the gap between those bookings is a good thing, the shorter time gap from a risk perspective, because the service is delivered immediately. And we like that. Definitely there's been a switch in payment methods use, and I know they're talking, I just heard a speech about, let's say, doing more all sorts of different forms of payment, but we've actually seen a lot of the opposite, and Michael Deleri from Trafix has written here. You see a lot more customers that are actually moving towards credit cards more often because they want insurance, they want refund options. They want to feel comfortable around what's happening. So we've seen a lot of this happening. And then I thought a really nice quote from Bas Lemmens, who's the president and CEO of hotelplanner/meeting.com. And I tend to agree with him. I'm maybe a bit of an optimist, but I think people have a short memory and they will travel again fairly quickly. And I like that he says that travel belongs to life, because I think a lot of people are itching to travel. I certainly think the state of travel will change, and it is for a lot of parts, and they talk about this with business travel going on. But I would say overall, I think people are fairly resilient, and they will very quickly forget, and I think they will travel again fairly quickly. And maybe that's a naive approach, particularly if you go on to the next slide here, which is looking at travel rebounding. Because, I mean, I think at the most, what we're seeing now in 2021 is going to be, at least for the European parts, these sort of things, we're going to see a lot of rebound in tourism for revenue coming over the summer as well. I don't think business travel will obviously come back, as everyone's mentioned here as well, but I'm hoping to see that a little bit earlier than 2023, 2025, they're saying it, to get back to some levels of pre-COVID. And yeah, like I said, maybe I'm a little bit optimistic, or looking too optimistic in some of those things, but I think that this would be the, yeah, I'd like to see it a little bit earlier come back. And if Bas is right and people have short-term memories, then yeah, maybe this is the case. Are you there, Felix? Because I'm in the blind.
I'm here, and Bas is a veteran of the industry, so we should listen to the smart man.
Yeah, he's been around for a while. I mean, you know this. We were sitting on a think tank, a large travel roundtable the other week, right? There's a lot of different discussions that are going on with all of the, I think we had close to 20 of the largest online travel agencies there, and all the C-level was sitting in there. But it's very much a mixed approach around what's happening. So, I mean, I love the idea of forward looking to the future, and I think this is a good thing as well. So I would say for the most part, I think we're, Felix, I believe we were the first hit from a business standpoint, the travel industry, once the pandemic hit. But I'm hoping that, yeah, we come out of this very quickly. And I think it was, I forget the woman who also had connectivity issues as well. I think it was Martina.
Yes.
But I liked her notes, and I liked her tone of voice when she was talking, because Felix, she said very simple for me, we have to do this together. We handle global payments, of course, but we flow money. And it's really important, just for all you C-level out there that are merchant side, that are doing things, you understand the risk profile has now changed in travel. You guys were high risk before, but you're ultra high risk now. And that's how Visa, MasterCard, all of the larger, the world is seeing you guys. So we need to make sure that we have the right risk models financially, and we can distribute or share the risk. And what I will say from a payments provider standpoint, who offers, I would say, the largest payment suite globally as well, I think it's very, very important for all you large online global travel companies that are out there that are wanting to grow or go into the space here, that you look for multiple payments partners to distribute your risk. It's very important you do that, because we're all not like the best at every part, but we're good at different pieces here. But when you're processing financially, the acquirers that are doing your Visa, MasterCard transactions, they are looking at not taking all the risk anymore, because Visa, MasterCard themselves, they will not let you process if they don't see a good, healthy business which is built to last. So it's very important you look for not just only one payments partner, which used to be let's call it the post-COVID, but you look for multiple payments partners that can support you in different ways, so you have a distribution of financial risk. And that's pretty much how we would be looking at it.
Thanks, Jay.
For the rest of the slides here, Felix, I will leave it at that. I'd say there's a mix of our different travel and retail and different sorts of customers on the representative slides. But I'm very much with Martina on this. I would say we definitely need to have open discussions and like this in this sort of format, and we need to do it together.
Thank you, Jay. And
Yeah,
I support and I fully support you and ETG. For a while now, we've been building a multi-supplier environment on the payment side. So we do use different payment partners around the world to help do exactly what you described. So I'm excited that someone's supporting my theory because for a long time now, people have been telling me, why do you need multi-supplier environment on the payment side? So I'm glad someone from the payment industry is finally supporting me. About us on the product side, so we've been obviously heads down and spent most of 2020 continuing to work on product. We have added the ability for hoteliers to include COVID-related content in extranet, and we source all the COVID-related data from all of our 130 plus suppliers now. We consolidate that content and we show it on hotel page in a simple and easy to use manner. So that's kind of first major piece, and obviously we are continuing to add more and more of that. Second is we've finally launched air tickets to the entire customer base, to the entire agency customer base around the world. And this has been in the works for a while, and we are planning to invest more on that in the next couple of months. We added transfers product, and Telixo is our first transfers partner, and we are hoping to step up our game there. And last but not least, we've built a mobile app. We originally were a B2C company, and we had a lot of the inventions, a lot of the stuff for the mobile app, but we saw that our agents wanted to have the ability to talk to our customer support, to talk to the account managers, to be able to browse their existing bookings and make bookings sometimes via the mobile app. And so we've built that. That's launched, and it's beautiful. I use it myself. So I hope everyone tries it. You can send me feedback if you hate something. What else? Talked about content. And yes, so Middle East, obviously, for us at Emerging Travel, has become destination number one. I've never sold as much Dubai in my life. And so this is very important for us. And as a result, we've continued plugging in more suppliers, DMCs, consolidators, and everyone who sells us a lot of inventory in the Middle East. We've integrated our first regional chain. We launched Ratana on the product, and so we're happy to be improving supply for our partners in the Middle East. I want to move on. I want to talk a little bit about the future. I think some of you have touched on it briefly, but I want to take a long-term view. I know we've talked about what the recovery looks like 1 year out or 2 years out, whatever. But let's dream a little bit. Let's talk about what travel looks like 10 years out, because I think that's where the excitement happens, and I think that's what I'm most excited about. Where do you guys see travel 10 years out? And we can do this without an organized way. If anyone wants to just jump in and
yeah, I'm happy to give that a go, Felix. So I think 10 years is broad. I think you're punching there and I think clearly if you go 10 years out, it's going to be AI, it's going to be curated, it's going to be massively personalized, and it's going to be there's going to I think all the innovations are about reducing friction. If I think 2 or 3 years out, I think we're all expecting a big boost. I think Martina alluded to it. We're going to see a big boost in the course of the next 6 months of pent-up demand, people who haven't spent money, and we'll see some bookings. My concern from an industry perspective is 22, 23, and possibly 24. I think if you factor in a level of economic depression, I think what we're going to see, it doesn't matter if you're selling car hire or transfers or flights or hotels, but I think we're all going to find it hard to justify the selling prices of 18 and 19 in 22, 23, and 24. There's people with more debt, less work, and I think we're going to look at a time where if you were able to charge 100 euros or $100 for a flight, a car hire, a transfer, or a hotel, you've got to get used to the fact that in 22 and 23, you're going to have to sell them at 80, 75, 60, who knows, right? And I think what that means is, if you look at all like Jay's business, or you look at any of these businesses, I think everyone's going to come under pressure on margins, not so much on percentage. Everyone will still make the same percentage, but of course, if you was making 5% of 100 and now you're making 5% of 60, you've got to get used to a world where travel transactions, doesn't matter if you're doing Sebastian's business or Tom's business or Anton's business, we've all got to get used to making a little bit less for every single transaction. And I think what we're going to see in 22 and 23 is a lot of innovation around cost saving, around efficiency, around automation. And I think as the businesses get more digital in over the course of 22, 23, and 24, because it's just not going to be possible to have lots and lots of meetings, lots and lots of assistants, lots and lots of car park spaces, lots and lots of expensive offices. People are going to have to adapt to the reality that travel is less profitable at transaction level. What we're going to see in 22 and 23 is more digital. But the positive about that for the consumer is, as we digitize more of tourism, the scope for then doing more cool innovation up to leading to that 10-year window, I think will come, because more of this stuff will be on platforms, more of stuff will be digital, more of this will be simplified. So my take in summary, we're going to have travel will come back, everyone will get vaccinated, we'll have an incredible boost, particularly in the luxury sector where PCR costs are less of a sensitivity. We'll see a really re-engineering of travel in 22 and 23, because it's just not going to be as profitable as it was at transactional level. Although lots of people will be traveling, the reality is, even if you look at 2008, it took 9 years for hotel ADR to come back. Occupancy came back within 18 months. So as prices recover, we're all going to have to get used to living off less, but then the good news is as we digitize to adapt, the pace of innovation, I think, leading up to the 10-year window that you're talking about is going to really get exciting in 25, 26, because everything is going to be platformed, everything is going to be digital, because we won't be able to afford to be as manual as we are with some very, very reduced segments. And I suspect Tariq's got some very wealthy customers that will always want to talk to and we know what kind of customers he has. He'll be wanting to go to, and he'll have some very concierge, personalized travel, and that will be a segment. But cruise, car hire, a lot of the businesses are going to get commoditized, and that I think is where it's going to go.
Thank you.
May I add to that, Felix? Because
Sebastian,
I just had
are you going to see self-driving cars for transfers in 10 years?
First, you will see the green cars, because everybody wants to be sustainable now, right? And then comes the self-driving. What do you think? Good? Perfect.
Yeah, I just took my first ride in a self-driving car built by Yandex a couple of weeks ago. It's an odd experience, I have to say. It's very uncomfortable at first. So I'm very curious if we see that in the next 10 years in mass usage.
Yeah, like in the movies, right? So look, we are ready for it. We have the technology to also talk to self-driving cars. So no problem, Felix. So I just wanted to add to Alex's point, right? So because I think just 2-3 points really quick. I think there's open discussion right now, right? So to take a look into the future, right? So I think it's also more sensible to also, like, obviously 10 years will be self-driving cars. Felix, then you will get used to this experience, I hope. So, and then, but also, like, what is really interesting, what I found interesting was from Alex, the 2-3 years. This is a very, let's say, immediate question, right? So, and I see it a little bit differently. So look, last year when the pandemic hit, right? I see actually two sides of travel that are basically being changing, and how you will see some different patterns. So I was thinking last year, okay, the need for travel for corporate is higher because they need to close its business, it's core to the business. They need to close deals, they need to meet customers. And then leisure will be more driven by the fear of the virus. It's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite. The corporate travelers suddenly saw, wait a minute, we have Zoom, we have Hangouts, we have all those conferencing tools we are right now in, right? So and the leisure travelers, so the urge of going out of the day-to-day normality, like the current times, lockdowns and so on, the urge is getting so extreme that we see actually sometimes irrational behavior from leisure travelers. They say, I don't care about the coronavirus anymore. I want to go to Mallorca. So I'm based in Germany, so Mallorca is quite a hotspot, right? So, but what I'm quite confident, and we see this, so you need to be aware that we as Talixo, we are embedded in a lot of big travel partners, right? So we see a lot of pings, and we can analyze the data quite well. So what we see is that the kickback of leisure travel is higher than we expected, right? So it's the urge is that the people, the moment the lockdowns are gone and the vaccines are coming are in place, there will be a huge uptake, exactly as Alex said, but I think it will not scale down later on, right? So I think that what we will see is only that there will be a little bit of a different need of travelers, right? So they want to have, and this goes nicely into this, they want to have more flexibility when booking. They want to have more service. This is what Martina was saying, right? So then also they want to, they exactly also what like Jay was saying. So people will forget about the pandemic, right? So they will break free, and then this will go in stages, right? Right now it's domestic, then it will go a little bit broader to near travel, let's call it, right? So the Mediterranean for the Europeans will open up soon, and so on, and this will pick up. Intercontinental travel will be probably next year, right? So but I'm quite confident that we will see kickback of the travel industry because of the psychology of the human. Right, and the second piece is we will just see different demands, right? In terms of service, in terms of security, there are some careful travelers that want to have the COVID-safe travel possibilities, and this could be an opportunity for all of us. If you provide this flexibility, the service, and the security, this could cater to this new type of like kind of traveler needs that will come back, right? And the same is also valid for the corporate side. But I think here we need to really focus on what will be travel used for, right? So because here I see the uptake of corporate travel will be way slower than for leisure. So this is basically what our data shows, or what's our data or our customer service basically say. So maybe not 100% correct view, but I think leisure, quick, different demands, and could be quite a chance for us. Corporate, we need to see and listen really carefully to the customers what they will use travel for, because Zoom will stay there, and all those beautiful conferencing tools, and it will be also made harder by the employers to travel, because they will just say, look, duty of care, we want before you travel, you really need to get approval, you really need to think why you are traveling. So I hope this fits what you are seeing as well.
I think Sebastian and Alex have just said it all.
A little bit maybe as well on the same line. This leisure travel, I will not mention again. I think we saw big boom last year, and now it's going to come back. Also, I got expats around an office here who haven't seen their parents in Europe for 18, 19 months. Yeah, so this is no doubt is going to happen, and will happen. When it comes to technology and corporate travel and how much it will affect and all these Zooms, I'm not that, email didn't affect it. It was growing. Telephone conference, still everything was growing. So I think it adds efficiency rather takes out things. And at least in my team, definitely it added efficiency a lot to the processes, but I don't see it replacing most of travel for corporates. I think what's here really important is this safety aspect. I think, Sebastian, you mentioned as well, and this is what we all should do, actually, talk and demonstrate about this safe travel, because there is this duty of care thing with corporations, and they will not travel until that is resolved. And this is something which I'm pushing to my team and putting in every presentations when we go out, about this safety on board and everything else. And once they are sure that it is safe, they will allow their people to travel. But for technology, I don't think the impact is more than maybe 5-10%, and it will come back. So not this year, maybe in autumn, definitely next year. And long haul is another story. We don't operate long haul, that's why maybe I'm not going to talk much about that. So, but let's go out and talk about safety and importantly do as well what we talk.
Thank you, Tom. Anton, you wanted to say something, and then we'll jump to questions, I think, because we have quite a lot of them.
Yes. Very quickly, because I think the other participants have already shared a lot, and I agree to a great degree to what was said already. I was just thinking, talking about the future, especially more distant future. I have recently watched Total Recall, and for those who don't know, it's a science fiction action movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sharon Stone that has recently celebrated 30 years. So it's interesting because it's it's all about space travel and colonizing Mars and penetrating other people's minds and so on. But people in it don't have mobile phones. They actually have to use chunky stationary devices to make video calls. They do have self-driving cars there, though. So I think the lesson from there is we have no way of knowing what future is going to be like. But we can observe certain trends that we see right now, and we can extrapolate from there. So coming from this angle, definitely travel will come back, and it will come back rather quickly, well, segment by segment, but so on. That's in a market like Russia. We're observing this right now. As soon as the restrictions are lifted, people just start to travel immediately. Secondly, technology, as Alex has said, technology will play a role, and in the hotel industry, there are things we're trying to implement. For example, group bookings online, or even small meetings booking online. We're working a lot on that, and that will probably happen rather sooner than later. We're also digitalizing the on-site client experience, so clients will be able to navigate through hotels without the need to actually go to reception, and will be using keys and their mobile phones, and things like that will happen. Then, talking about this kind of technology, there are clusters where certain improvements are kind of possible but have not happened yet. So, and there are clusters where improvements are technologically possible already today, but they're hindered by the various regulations and so on. And again, Russia is a good example, because, for example, on the payment side, Russia is one of the top countries in the world where consumers have preference for credit card payments. But on the B2B side, it's the complete opposite because of the regulations, and all payments are being done by bank transfer. Same goes for this online key solution in hotels. The technology is already there, but if you are legally required to take somebody's passport and scan it, then of course you cannot make the step. But anyway, technology will arrive in the hotels. I think it doesn't mean that we will have less people working in hotels, or there will be less human touch. On the contrary, I think technology will let hotel employees spend more time with their guests, and that links to another trend we're seeing right now, which is something we call lifestyle, and we're talking a lot about that. Lifestyle is all about making all the experiences that people get from travel unique. And that's why hotels are reinventing themselves. We're creating new brands. We're reinventing old brands. We're trying to create these unique experiences. So this, I think, what we'll see coming over the next years, and then more distant future, we'll see what it is when we get there.
Awesome, thank you. We'll go to questions now. We'll kick off with a pointy question from one of the guests. Question to Akor. How has your perception of travel trade partners changed in the last year? What's the vision going forward? We see that a lot of hotels, when the demand suddenly rises, gets away, closes availability from their distribution partners, and tries to sell directly. What's the view? What's the long-term view there?
Well, personally, I can say I don't think our view of our partners have changed. We're probably more open than ever to new partners and new partnerships, simply because we know that some of our traditionally very big partners, such as the large corporations that have been our corporate key and strategic corporate clients for years, they will probably not come back to their same levels of travel for many years to come, because they've decided to cut on this cost, because they've discovered that the meeting technology could be effective for many things and so on. So I think we're more open than ever to new partners. As far as hotels close and their availability, well, it does happen, and it will happen. It will probably happen less in the current scenario, because, well, only those hotels that are really lucky do use these revenue management techniques right now. But one thing to understand is that hotels have only a certain number of rooms to sell, and a room for today, stay for today that's not sold until today is never sold again. So they're trying to do as best they can to maximize their revenue and probably compensate for the increase in costs for the investments that they have to make to implement all the safety measures and so on. It's true that very often our role in sales, as opposed to revenue management, is to talk to our hotel colleagues and explain the value of long-term partnerships rather than short-term commercial wins.
Thank you. Moving on, someone asked about the popular online booking tools in your respective markets, or in the markets that you operate. Anything change on that front? I'm assuming Roman here was referring to the corporate self-booking tools that you hear about. Anything you want to share? Nobody wants to share. Roman, they don't want to talk about online booking tools.
Maybe I can.
Yes.
I can just share something, because we are using online booking tools a lot to have corporate customers booking transfers as well. So I don't know if Roman is referring to the European market or other markets, but what I can say about the European market, because our corporate business is very centralized there around Europe, is there's currently like a little bit of a race going on between Concur and Cytric on the corporate front. So I hope this is what you meant with corporate booking engines, right? So Concur was. This is what you meant, right? So we see this with customers, because they start switching from their legacy platforms to mostly, we only hear about Cytric or Concur. It's this race about like Cytric being now bought by Amadeus. Obviously, they try to push this into the market as a replacement for Amadeus eTravel Management. And on the other side is this, let's say, the new kid on the block since, let's say, 5 years since SAP bought Concur. So Concur was the market leader in the US, and now they're pushing the product into the European landscape. So it's our view, or might be because I'm biased by the customer base that we have, but our view here at Talixo was that currently we only hear about Concur and Cytric, and those two are basically racing against each other, at least for the top tier key account corporations. I'm not talking about the small and medium enterprises, because here we have different tools that are prevalent. This is just like one view from a transfer provider that is focused on the corporate side on European business.
I could probably also offer a quick comment on that, because I think Roman is also coming from a Russian market perspective. So just a quick comment on this, especially when it comes to Russia, we are all for online booking tools, especially because of the growing importance of the dynamic rates in the corporate environment. The problem with the online booking tools in Russia, especially when it comes to hotel, is that most of them are not really online. Which means dynamic rates are probably not supported, and also other features that could be fed to clients might not be supported. But we're working a lot on that with our partners.
Very cool. Someone asked Babak Panahian, sorry if I butchered your last name. I recently started a small business in Venice with a touristic purpose. I'm wondering about the future ahead. And can I still be optimistic? Who wants to take that? I can.
I'm happy to take that. And I also think there's some similar, there's actually, I've checked the chat, that I think this question has come from 3 or 4 people. I don't think it's about being optimistic. My gut feeling, and I keep saying this to people who I meet, is if anyone thinks they can unplug the travel industry from 2019 and plug it in again in 2022, they are flat wrong, right? It's not going to come back the way it was. So I think you can be optimistic, absolutely, because if you're adapting to and you're reading the data and you're understanding that things are going to be different on the way back, that's fine. If, on the other hand, you're in a big, heavy organization that's put everyone on furlough for 2 years, they're going to bring everyone back at the end of the year and say, hey, you know what? We'll just do what we were doing last time. They're in trouble. And I think that is the reality. If you haven't, because there's no way you can confine, furlough, lockdown, do whatever it is you've done to billions of people around the planet and expect the behavior of customers isn't going to change on the other side. So I think you can be optimistic because the movement of the behaviors allows for the old guard to be disturbed, disrupted. And if you're in that game, now is the time to be optimistic and see opportunity. But if you're working at a company that is saying, oh, you'll just come back and we'll do exactly what we were doing in 2019 and everything will be the same, start looking for a new job, because that's not going to be a great place to work. Right.
Thank you for being as direct, Alex. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree, actually. I want to raise, and someone raised that question about sustainability. I think if anyone wants to talk about sustainability and trends there, now is probably a good time. We never paid enough attention to it, I think, pre-pandemic, and I'm very glad that more and more people are starting to bring that up. And I wanted to hear what someone from the audience, and I want to hear if anyone wants to talk about that for a second before we go to our last question, actually.
Well, I can say something because I come from airline, and as you know, the general perception is that this is airlines which are ruining, which are emitting most CO2 and not coals. Yeah. So we had actually a lot of work done before, and no doubts this issue will come back. And actually we've been doing all the time. So our first environmental report, quite a big one, went out last year, and lots of internal procedures have been adopted for this one as well. So this environment issue is not gone. It's a little bit sidelined by death and life issues of coronavirus, but it is there, and we continue on this one. So it's not gone, and it is important we do this for environment and for the world, basically, and we will do that. And having most efficient fleet in Europe right now, of course, helps to this message a lot as well. But also internal procedures are being changed to all kind of aspects, and anyone can find this environmental report.
Thank you.
I would say that all the sustainability, despite all the things, coronavirus, the sustainability questions, they remain on the top of the priority list for a company like Accor. I think Accor has traditionally been very, very active in this field. We have a program called Planet 21 that addresses things like food waste reduction and water use, and most recently the carbon footprint has become a very important subject. So we're actually going to launch very, very soon in the coming months, working on that right now in initiatives. One of the carbon footprint initiatives that will help our clients who are doing events in the properties to estimate the carbon footprint from an event, and to invest in an offset, and carbon offset in initiatives that will help to neutralize this impact. That's just one of the initiatives, of course, on the way to reducing, to becoming fully zero carbon neutral hotel chain. But we're on the way. We're working also on technology, changing the mindset, and eventually on the way to building green hotels.
Thank you. Actually, we have 2 more questions all of a sudden. You know, people started becoming active at the end. So we have a question about NDC. What's the impact of NDC adoption by airlines to the travel agency business, if any? And I think probably Tom's is best to answer that, right? Of all the speakers.
Well, NDC is still quite a buzzword in industry, of course. And unfortunately, if you ask me, my personal opinion, that is still 70% out of it is PR and buzz, and 30% is something realistic. Once you start talking to agents, you get more and more feel like that. But of course, it is going to be developed, and it is being developed. And all I can say that on the agency side, they should really listen to it, because at some stage you don't want to become uncompetitive because you have researched that way of getting content from airlines. So that's what it is. But you know, it's not gonna come. It's not gonna 100% change the world during the next year. So just stay tuned and watch the space.
Thank you, Thomas. I think we're almost out of time, and we need to wrap up. I want to thank all of our speakers and all of our listeners and all of our guests and my team who helped put this together. Obviously, today was a disaster technology-wise, but nevertheless, we suffered through it, and I think we've had some very good, insightful thoughts. I'm thankful for your optimism, and I'm thankful for your ideas on how things will develop long term. As always, I'm available for one-on-ones, for questions. All our guests and clients can ping me at felix@emergingtravel.com. And hopefully next time around, we'll be able to do this offline in some pleasant location. And hopefully everyone is fully recovered by then. Thank you all for listening, and good luck.
Thank you, Felix, for inviting us. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Felix. It was great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Felix, and everyone.
Thank you. Bye.